Well, hi everyone. Today's video is about the B1 bridge in Iran, north of Tehran, that the US took out on April 3rd, 2026. I'm recording this on Sunday, April 5th, 2026, and there's been a lot of exciting new developments as well. So, I want to look at this situation from an engineering perspective and take you through how I think this targeting was just essentially flawless, and whoever did the targeting here appears to have done it with engineering principles, sound principles in mind in terms of the vulnerability of this bridge. So let's just roll this footage here. Many of you have seen this already, but the U.S. conducted airstrikes. It appears that there were surface to ground missiles involved here that took out large sections of these bridge spans. And again, this occurred on April 2nd, 2026. Just massive damage. Show some additional footage here. Now you can see one of these simply supported spans falls from one end and downwards. And we'll go through some of the photos that show the damage in more detail. The location here is just northwest of Tehran, on the east side of the town of Karaj. And here's a Google Earth view. This bridge was being constructed over the Karaj River, and the U.S. indicates that it was targeted because it was a military supply route for drones and missiles to a northwestern Iran launch site. Here's a closer view of this. This picture was taken September 2024. You can see to the north, many of the approach spans are in place, and you can see these large pylons to support the cable stayed section of the bridge. So some of the main characteristics of this bridge, it was around 137 meters in height, so over 400 feet in height, had an overall length of around 1,000 meters or 3,300 feet, and it was reported to be the tallest bridge in Iran. And construction initially started in July 2016, but not much was done. Most of the construction was done since 2023, according to this Wikipedia article. And the targeting was clearly well done in terms of applied engineering principles. So we can see from this photo here, we have the two main pylons supporting the cabled stayed section of the bridge deck. And one of the major strikes occurred in the main portion of the cantilever. So you have support on either end and this cantilevered portion, which by targeting that, it's the most efficient place to attack, because if they had attacked closer to the pylon, you have multiple additional supports with these cable stays. So, very efficient targeting by any definition. This is precision targeting. And you can see off to the right, a simply supported span, it appears, is just dropped. And off to the left, there's another section that was taken out. Let's just play some of this footage again here. So this is the portion of the bridge that was off to the left of that previous photo. Just massive damage. This won't be rebuilt anytime soon. It'll probably take a year or more at the very least to get this bridge anywhere close to where it was prior to this attack. Now, it's not clear if any portion of this bridge had been open to traffic. You can see the two tower cranes. These were not erected post attack. They were clearly there in place prior to this bombing. These types of tower cranes take several days to erect, so they couldn't have just thrown those up in a matter of hours. So, according to President Trump, this attack on this B1 bridge in Karaj, Iran, was done to send a message to the Iranian Republican Guard, the IRG, who's running these military operations in Iran, that we could do this, the United States could do this in a widespread fashion throughout Iran to any infrastructure that has dual use, civilian and a military component. And I think it sends a very strong message here. Iran's been given a timetable to comply with reopening the Strait of Hormuz by Tuesday, April 7th, 2026. So we're just within 48 hours of that deadline. And if they don't reopen the strait, President Trump has indicated that it'll be power plant day and bridge day. So, again, threatening widespread destruction of any infrastructure that could have military application in the country of Iran. Now, I was curious what type of munitions were used in this B 1 bridge attack. And the information that I've been able to collect indicates that it's most likely a GBU 31. So I would like to hear from you all in the comments section in terms of what munitions do you think it likely was and what the delivery mechanism was. This is just based on my own research, type of JDAM, this Joint Direct Attack Munition. And these are precision guided munitions. This is what they look like. Here's some specifications. They're made by Boeing. They're typically 2,000-pound bombs. They're GPS guided, from what I understand. A range of up to 15 miles. And the costs are around 22,000 per unit, and that indicates $2,007. And according to this U.S. Air Force website posting, projected inventory is around 217,000 units, with 149,000 for the Air Force and around 68,000 for the Navy. In addition, the research I've done indicates that there are three main air platforms that are used to deliver this GBU 31: a B 1B Lancer, a B 52H Stratofortress, and an F-15E Strike Eagle. And it was an F-15E Strike Eagle that was shot down this past Friday, April 3rd, which ultimately both the pilot and the weapons system officer was rescued. So, an amazing story. I want to touch on that here in a second. And I've got a link in the description to all these news sources, but just an incredible rescue mission that was implemented by U.S. forces to retrieve this weapon systems officer safe and sound. This weapon system officer successfully evaded Iran's forces that were actively trying to capture him. And this rescue mission involved reportedly several hundred special forces operators as well as pilots. So, just a tremendous feat that the US military has achieved here. And several months ago, I did a video about really just how difficult it is to target a bridge. A bridge has many redundant structural members that make it a very difficult military target. And in that video I posted back in the fall of 2025, I was referencing Ukraine's attack on the Kerch Bridge in Russia occupied Crimea. And in that video, I talked about the United States military's efforts to take out a bridge in what was then North Vietnam, the Tan Hoa Bridge. And they targeted that bridge repeatedly from 1965 until they eventually destroyed the bridge in 1972. So the efforts to take out that bridge involve over 800 sorties. Well over 100 American aviators were shot down in that 7 year span in the efforts to try and take out that bridge. And the initial efforts involved gravity bombs and then featured a series of improvements to various precision guided munitions. And of course, the accuracy wasn't anywhere near where they are today. And this is what this bridge looked like before and then after it was successfully destroyed. And one of the aviators, in this case, a naval aviator that was shot down and captured, was Admiral Stockdale, James Stockdale, and one of the all time great military heroes, in my view. So we'll see if the IRG heeds President Trump's warning so that additional infrastructure that has military application doesn't have to be targeted here. So I'll continue to follow up events in Iran as they develop here. With that, I thought it's time to mention another book that I recently read that I highly recommend, and that's J.L. Carr's A Month in the Country. It's a novel, it's relatively short, about 135 pages. I don't think it's very well known outside of England, but it's another title published by NYRB, probably my most favorite novel publisher that I've encountered. There's not been a bad book from that publisher that I've encountered. They're all fantastic. This book is about a World War I veteran living in England, and he was a signalman in World War I and developed severe PTSD as a result of his experiences there. He had a severe facial twitch and just decided to accept an assignment to uncover a mural that had been painted over in a rural church, and again, northern England. And the time he spends in this small village, he's able to fully recuperate and get his life back together. And it's really a fantastic book, an interesting story, and I highly recommend it. If you're so inclined, I've got a link in the description. With that, I want to send a shout out to those of you who've contributed to buy me a coffee. That's one of the better ways to support this channel. I also want to thank the channel members and those of you who have contributed to super thanks, additional great ways to support the channel. So please stay tuned for future videos, everyone.